What happens when a legendary producer and an iconic pioneer of downtuned, extended range metal get together and use AI and neural networks to create an 𝗦𝗡𝗏 plugin? You get some absolutely legendary guitar tones, and the results are pretty outstanding. What's up everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm really excited today for this one. Now, if you watch my channel, you probably know how I feel about most plugins, and this one is definitely different. Joey Sturgis Tones used AI and neural networking to recreate some of these classic and iconic Fear Factory tones, which gets me pumped. And if this is your first time to the channel, welcome. My name is Taylor, and I'm glad to have you here. Today, it is my absolute pleasure to show you guys the Toneforge Disruptor by Joey Sturgis Tones.
By the way, if you are interested in the Disruptor plugin, you can get it using the link in the description below and save yourself 20% and help out the channel in the process.
Now, like I mentioned, this plugin is quite a bit different than the majority of 𝗦𝗡𝗏 suites that are out there, and let me explain why that is. If you are not familiar with Joey Sturgis as a producer, he was very popular in the late 2000s and early 2010s for producing a lot of bands on Rise Records, like The Devil Wears Prada, 𝗦𝗡𝗏𝗡𝗏, Attack, For the Fallen Dreams, the list goes on. He's definitely responsible for that Rise sound, if you know what I mean. Now, the band that I was in at the time was signed to Rise Records, so I was very familiar with Joey's work. He had a super specific sound that was very cutting edge and really influenced a lot of what you hear today in the gent prog, let's just say downtuned, extended range metal genre. If you were around back then, and especially if you were into home recording, you probably remember Pod Farm, and his Pod Farm presets were god tier. These were some of the absolute best tones at the time. And one of the reasons Joey was so good in just producing banger after banger is because he is relentless and meticulous about production. You can hear him talk about this a little bit on the Punk Rock MBA podcast. It's a very interesting episode if you're into recording and production. It's one that I'd highly recommend checking out. On the other side of this plugin, you have Dino Cazares, a god tier tone king in his own right. Dino was most popular for Fear Factory, a band that arguably is one of the most influential to modern metal. I know 𝗦𝗏𝗔𝗡𝗏 gets all the credit here, but go back and listen to what Fear Factory was doing in the mid to late 90s with Demanufactured and Obsolete. I think that these albums really laid a lot of the groundwork for the heavier bands today. Not only that, but Dino really was a pioneer of digital amp modeling, and to have a plugin that is inspired and collaborated on with his wealth of experience and knowledge is pretty cool. The Toneforge Disruptor features 3 different amps. There's a clean to crunch style amp, an amp modeled after Dino's modded 𝗬𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗔𝗟, and the last one is the Protomech, an amp with 5 different preamp sounds that are all neural network tone matched to various iconic tones from Dino's career. The plugin also features pre and post effects. You have your basics, your overdrive, your chorus, your delay, your reverb, and a lo-fi filter, but where this plugin really gets interesting is in its forward-thinking production-based features. You have a DI match feature, which allows you to load or play a DI, and then the plugin will match the incoming signal to that DI. Very useful if you're tracking multiple guitars or guitar players and want to have a more consistent sound. You also have a string and tuning optimizer. What this will do is change the response of the plugin's controls to whatever tuning you're playing in. Now, this is not something that I personally experienced, but I know a lot of the extended range guys have complained that some of the other legacy amp type plugins don't sound good with their guitars that are tuned to drop Z or whatever. So very, very cool feature. Now, on the post end, you have a very nice EQ, and I know it's an EQ, but it has pretty much every feature I can think of that you might want in an EQ section. It's really better than the majority of standalone EQs in my opinion. And then lastly, you have the secret sauce for any producer that is mixing super chuggy guitars, a multi-band compressor that is set up to get your low end under control. And you also have a limiter to give you a more consistent output volume. Okay, so I'm going to show you what all of that means here in a second, but first let me show you what this sounds like in a mix. The guitars here are mixed using only the Toneforge Disruptor plugin. Let's check it out. All right, I have the Toneforge Disruptor plugin loaded up. We have this mode down here. Before you get in and dial in tones, let's go over what the mode does. In the mode settings, we have 6, 7, and 8 string. I'm gonna put in 7 string because I'm playing a 7 string. It seems logical, right? And I am in drop A tuning, so I'm gonna put that on A1. I know, sorry, very vanilla for you low tuning guys, but that's what I'm doing here. Let's go to the Martyr amp here. And we do have a clean to pushed amp with this. Let's turn the bright mode on here. See what kind of cleans we can get with this guy. Not bad. Let's hit this burn button here and turn up the gain. Probably not why you're interested in this amp sim if you are, but it's nice that it includes this in. That way, if you wanted like a clean edge breakup sort of sound for something, you don't have to switch over to another suite to get that. You can just get it here. It's always nice, right? I don't know about you guys, but when it comes to plugin suites, I really like sticking within one. I don't really like looking through different amp sims and trying to find the one that fits the part. It's really nice when you can just use one suite and not have to mess around, you know what I mean? That is the Martyr amp. Let's just go to the Replica amp here. This is based off Dino's modded JCM 800. And I'm getting a little bit of noise here. Let's turn this gate up here. And you can see the gate is active when this gate knob illuminates, so that helps you visually kind of dial it in. Let's go ahead and turn the power amp into 2 mode, and you'll notice we have an auto gain switch here, and it says what it does here. The really nice thing about this plugin is, like, a lot of times when you hover the mouse over a control, if you're not sure what it is, it will tell you. It's a nice feature. Automatically compensates the output of the power amp. Sounds pretty good as is. We haven't even gotten into the cabs or the post-processing effects yet, which is where this plugin really shines for me. Now, we have 3 different gain controls here. We have a low frequency gain, a high frequency gain, and then an overall gain. I like to dial it about something like that. Sounds really nice, and I do like how the disruptor lights up when you play. It's a nice touch. Okay, now let's go ahead and turn the bass up something like that. Maybe about there. Sounds pretty good. We do have an A/B switch up here, which is really, really nice if you want to A/B your presets. So let's go over to B and let's load the Protomech amp. Now look at this thing, man. This just reminds me a lot of Fear Factory just visually looking at it. God, just like all the controls at noon. Sounds great. Now we do have some different sort of preamp sounds here, and this is really interesting because the way that this amp sim was designed was that they used AI modeling to kind of capture sounds from different eras of Dino's career. And so like you can see some of the stuff in here is just straight out of Fear Factory. Like let's go to this mechanized one. This is really cool, man. Really reminds me a lot of Fear Factory, and of course we could dial this in here a little bit to get it more suited to our needs. And then we can A/B back and forth. Way more scooped on this one, but obviously there's a bunch of different preamps we can go through. Let's go to the damaged one. Ooh, aggression sounds kind of cool. Dielectric. I like monolith the most. Let's go back and forth. It sounds a lot like the JCM 800 one, just a little bit more fine-tuned, a little bit beefier. We haven't even boosted this thing yet. What am I doing here? Let's add a boost in here. So you do have pre and post effects. These take the shape of effects pedals. These are the different effects we have. We have a chorus, delay, lo-fi, overdrive, and reverb. I'm gonna do the overdrive. Turn the drive down, the level up. Let's turn the treble up just a bit. Nice and boosted the way that I like it. Let's go into the cab section here. Now the cab section is a little bit interesting to me. You have single and dual cabs, so if you want to put different microphones on or even have different cab types, you can do that. I like this rectifier 4x12, but we do have 5 different options. Let's go to the single mode so we can kind of isolate it here. We do have a rectifier 2x12. 𝗦𝗡𝗫𝗶, which is a oversized Marshall cabinet, I believe. External IR, which I don't have anything loaded here. Let's load up one of my IRs. That way we have some sort of comparison here. By the way, you can have this IR for free by joining my Discord if you are interested in that. The low end sounds really good on these. Of course, we can change out the microphone if we want. We have a condenser, we have a 421 style microphone, an SM57 style microphone, and a ribbon microphone. In my opinion, these are the classics. These are the ones that you actually need when going into a cab section. I actually don't like when cab sections are overloaded with too many options because it just gets in the way of getting a good sound out of your cabinet and moving on with your life. We're gonna do a 421 on the rectifier 4x12. And then on the other side, we're gonna do a ribbon 121. And I'm gonna blend these slightly in favor of the 421. God, sounds nasty. Let's go into the microphone positions here. Now, this is pretty cool because you can just move this microphone left and right, in and out. Again, it's not overwhelming you with options that you don't need to get a good guitar tone. I'm gonna put this thing, actually. I'm actually really liking the way that that sounds right there. Now we have a post signal path as well, so this is where I would add in effects like delay and reverb if we wanted to do that. But we're not gonna do that right now. I'll put them there, but let's just move on here. Now we do have an EQ section here. Digital or analog. I prefer the digital, maybe you like the analog, that's cool. There are some very cool touches in this EQ section, and someone like Joey would probably include stuff like this just because he's been recording guitar so long and he knows what the go-to EQ tricks are and what the go-to post-processing tricks are, and he's kind of included them all in this plugin. We have a kill resonances button here, and you can just see, it just adds in these cuts automatically. And you can hear it just takes the guitar tone and really sculpts it to be ready for a mix. And we could turn the analyzer on here if we want to see the graph. And then obviously, if we want to adjust these things, we can do that here. This EQ is very, very nice. By the way, just being included with this plugin. I mean, look, you can add a node wherever you want, and I'm not seeing any limits on this. You know, I might just use this plugin for the EQ alone. The EQ is very, very nice. And look, you can even add in compression to any one of these nodes. This is a pretty outstanding EQ section. We can also change what type of node we're adding. We can do a high pass, we can do a low shelf, peak, high shelf, low pass, change the feel. Oh man, this is kind of crazy. Left, right, stereo, mid, side. We can isolate this frequency if we want to, and then obviously delete it. I'm just gonna press clear to clear everything. Just the EQ in this plugin alone is pretty crazy. There are programs that charge you significantly more money for just that feature, so kind of crazy that it's included in this suite here. Okay, let's go to the last little module that we have here, and this is really cool. Back to that thing that I was saying about production hacks that Joey Sturgis included in this plugin. This is the big one. I do this on all of my guitars when I'm doing mixing, not so much when I do gear reviews and demos because I want to give you guys raw tones, but if you wanted to really tighten up your guitars and have them sit well in a mix, this is absolutely necessary in my opinion. Essentially what this is a multi-band compressor, but it's just the band that you would be focusing on if you were focusing on chug-tastic guitars, which is the low end. Now what we can do here is we have our compressor controls. We can change the crossover. I'm gonna pump that up to like 130 there. And then our intensity is going to be how much the compressor reacts. Kind of like the threshold. I'll turn that up to about 50%. And you can see when I do palm muted chugs, the compressor is just pushing down on that low end. That really helps out tremendously in a mix, especially when you have a bunch of different instruments fighting for that low end and those low mids. Now we also have a limiter on this side here, and we have the threshold knob. And what this is gonna do is it's just gonna limit our output and make it a little bit louder. Now we will start to see gain reduction here if we hit the ceiling of the limiter. Use at your own discretion because the more you push your limiter, the more it's gonna squish your guitar signal and decrease the dynamic range of your guitar signal. But it's really cool that it's included in this plugin suite. Now the last feature that I wanna go over here, it's a really interesting feature. We have this DI match tool. Now what this allows you to do is profile your DI or load profiles of other DIs. So we can capture our source here if we wanted to. And now it has a profile of the DI of this guitar, meaning this pickup configuration, the height, the way I'm playing, all of those little things here. And the way that this tool can be really valuable is, let's say that I'm tracking guitars and I finish and I come back the next day and I'm playing a different guitar, or just something has changed on my guitar and I really want those DIs to match as much as possible. You can actually use this tool to profile your own DI and make sure that it's consistent across all of your recordings or sessions, or however you want to look at it. Now you can also load other profiles in here. So we have factory, we have Dino Cazares 7th string. So let's go. You can hear that does make quite a big difference. Let's see what else we have in here. We have JST collaborations. You have a bunch of different, wow, you got a lot of different people in here. And different guitars as well. EMG 81, 7 string. Let's check that out. Let's do an aftermath bridge. Now, if you wanted to listen to just the DI and how that's affecting it, we could turn off the amp here and the cabinet section. Let's turn off all the stuff here and have only the DI match on, so. One of the things that really interested me about this plugin was they were talking about using AI neural networks to create these tones from Dino's past albums in his career, like different Fear Factory albums and things like that. And rather than using that as just like a blanket marketing term, they actually included some definitions with their quick start guide. So I want to read that to you here real quick. Black box modeling and neural network AI tone matching. This method involves creating a digital amp model by training a neural network, a type of artificial intelligence algorithm, to mimic the sound of the original amplifier without necessarily understanding the internal workings of the amp, hence the term black box. The neural network is trained using audio samples of Dino's original tones from his discography, as well as some new tones he has created. So I just wanted to take a second to shine some light on that because I felt like it was a really interesting topic about this plugin and something that, you know, actually made me curious to check it out. All right, shout out to Joey Sturgis Tones for sponsoring this video. Shout out to you for watching it. If you liked it, make sure to hit the like button, consider subscribing on your way out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.